We often envision Victorian England as an age of elegant invention, grand architecture, and proper decorum. A time of empire, scientific marvels, and widespread prosperity. Yet beneath the veneer of progress and polite society, another reality unfolded for vast swathes of the population. This was an era of profound paradox, where dazzling innovation coexisted with deep-seated hardship, shaping lives in ways that challenged the very notion of advancement for many. Spanning roughly from 1837 to 1901, the reign of Queen Victoria saw Britain transformed by the Industrial Revolution. This period witnessed unprecedented population growth, particularly in urban centers, as people flocked from rural areas seeking work. Cities swelled, becoming crucibles of both opportunity and immense struggle, where the very fabric of society was stretched to its limits. The engines of industry roared, driving Britain to global prominence. But for those toiling within them, life was often a relentless cycle of arduous labor. Workdays stretched to 12 or even 16 hours, 6 days a week, in environments that were frequently dusty, dangerous, and poorly ventilated. Accidents were a common and feared reality, maiming or disabling workers with little recourse or compensation. The machinery that powered progress often consumed the health and vitality of those who operated it. Perhaps one of the most poignant aspects of this era was the widespread employment of children. As young as 5 or 6, children were put to work in factories, down mines, or sweeping chimneys, their small stature ironically making them ideal for navigating narrow spaces. They endured the same long hours and perilous conditions as adults for meager wages. Their childhoods were largely forgone, replaced by the grim realities of economic survival, a stark consequence of burgeoning industrial demand and desperate familial need. The rapid influx of people into urban areas overwhelmed existing infrastructure. Housing was scarce, leading to severe overcrowding in tenements and slums. Families often lived in single rooms, with multiple families sharing a single dwelling. Sanitation systems were rudimentary or non-existent. Raw sewage often flowed in open drains or directly into rivers that also served as sources of drinking water. This created breeding grounds for disease. Cholera, typhus, and tuberculosis swept through working-class districts with devastating frequency, claiming countless lives and highlighting the stark inequalities in health and well-being between the affluent and the impoverished. For many, the specter of the workhouse loomed large. These institutions, established under the New Poor Law of 1834, were designed to deter pauperism by making life within them deliberately harsh and humiliating. Families were often separated upon entry, and residents were subjected to monotonous labor, strict rules, and meager rations. The workhouse was a profound symbol of the era's attitude towards poverty, inspiring deep fear among the working poor. The struggle for daily sustenance was a constant, gnawing concern for millions. While the angel in the house ideal presented a picture of domestic tranquility for middle and upper-class women, reality was far more complex. For working-class women, economic necessity often meant working outside the home, in factories, as domestic servants, or in other laborious roles, often for lower wages than men. Legal rights for women were severely limited. Married women had no independent legal identity, and their property and earnings often belonged to their husbands. This imposed significant constraints on their autonomy and opportunities, defining their lives largely through their relationships within societal structures. The relentless pace of industrial growth also had a profound impact on the environment. Factories belched smoke into the air, creating a perpetual smog in industrial cities. Rivers became heavily polluted with industrial waste and human effluent, rendering them toxic and inhospitable to life. The beauty of the natural world, often romanticized in art and literature, stood in stark contrast to the grim environmental realities of Britain's industrial heartlands. Yet, from within these challenging circumstances, a growing awareness began to manifest. Social reformers, driven by a blend of moral concern and pragmatic understanding, started to expose the harsh realities of urban life and industrial labor. Figures like Charles Dickens, through his vivid literary portrayals, and journalists like Henry Mayhew, through his detailed investigations, brought the condition of England question to the forefront of public consciousness. This public scrutiny, coupled with scientific advancements in germ theory, began to shift perceptions. It marked a crucial, albeit gradual, turning point, moving from a passive acceptance of these hardships towards a recognition that systemic issues demanded societal solutions. This burgeoning awareness slowly paved the way for legislative action. Early factory acts began to regulate working hours, particularly for women and children, though enforcement was often challenging. Public health initiatives, inspired by figures like Edwin Chadwick, led to the establishment of drainage and sewerage systems in some major cities, slowly improving sanitation and curbing the spread of disease. Trade unions, though often facing opposition, began to form, offering a collective voice for workers striving for better conditions and fairer wages. These were not immediate fixes, but the critical first steps in a long process of social amelioration. The Victorian era, for all its darker aspects, thus also became the crucible in which many modern ideas about social responsibility and public welfare began to take shape. The relentless pursuit of progress had, perhaps inadvertently, also sown the seeds for a more humane future, demonstrating that even amidst immense hardship, the desire for dignity and improvement could endure and eventually transform. The Victorian era stands as a testament to the complex interplay of power and human endeavor. While it fostered immense change and laid foundations for much of the modern world, it also underscored the profound costs borne by individuals and communities caught in the currents of rapid transformation. The era's legacy reminds us that progress is rarely uniform, and that the grand narratives of history often conceal the quiet struggles and profound resilience of ordinary people striving to find their place and purpose within an evolving world.